Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Nibiru channel. It is October 16th, 2016. Last night, I was a special guest on the Front Porch radio show on iHeartRadio. And ladies and gentlemen, they are trying to silence me. They do not want the truth to come out about Planet X. But I am delivering the truth. So stay tuned and listen to the broadcast. This will be a series of videos, so watch them all.
For causing us to slowly tilt as the planet moves through our portion of the solar system, which I've heard that the estimation will be approximately 57 million miles away. Now, that seems like a massive distance, and you would have to say, oh, Scott, you got to be crazy. That's so far away. But if you're dealing with a very highly electromagnetically charged planet, and Earth is the same way, then the bigger of the two is going to win the battle. And it's going to tilt us a little bit. Now, this is not something that's going to dump us on our heads. This is not something that's going to happen instantaneously and cause, massive amounts of damage. Like almost falling off of a wall. But it will be gradual over a period of hours, possibly days, or even weeks. But we will definitely have that shift. And once it starts to pass, and it gets very close to that 55 million miles away, that is going to be the point where it will start to slow our planet down. And we will eventually stop rotating for a while, 8 to 12 hours. And that will also be a gradual stoppage. But it's during that gradual stoppage that we start to have very, very severe problems with, tidal waves and tsunamis, because the swell of water that is around the equator will now surge everywhere. And, from there, it's anybody's guess on, the amount of damage that's going to occur. As far as the actual degree of tilt, a lot of different renowned researchers have placed it at about an additional 25 degrees, which will put us pretty close to about a 48-degree tilt. And we will recover a good bit of that after the passage. But, there will be damage. There will be flooding. There may be countries that no longer exist. Very low-lying countries. I have looked at a lot of models dealing with the flooding, and the UK almost completely gone, underwater.
Wow.
The entire state of, absolutely. The entire state of Florida, underwater. Parts of the Gulf of Mexico, underwater. Mexico will suffer a lot of land loss. The same applies for the whole continent of South America, except for the mountainous regions. And this goes on and on and on all the way around the Earth. And then we have another issue. Because of the tilt of the Earth, once this is all over and done with, now the North Pole and the South Pole will be exposed to more solar radiation, a different climate, and we're going to start with the ice melt of the polar caps. Now, that will happen over time, but you're going to notice a very high level of rising water over a period of time, approximately 700 to 1,000 feet. So, therefore, you're going to have additional landmass that will be lost, but there will be landmass that will be uncovered that no one on the face of this Earth has ever seen before.
Now, let me ask you this. With that happening, especially in the polar caps, where there has been just eons of years of glaciers and such, inside that, there is going to be, because they uncovered, it was about 15 years ago, I guess, when a certain area had started melting, they found an actual girl. She was about 13 years old, and I can't remember where this was at, but it's all over the internet.
I saw that.
Yeah, and she had been preserved because it was almost like she was instantly frozen, and they were able to, do an autopsy on her and found, certain diseases in her. They also found a teenage boy, not in the same area, but in the same way. And he had this certain mushroom around his neck. And when they did, it was tied with a piece of rawhide or some sort of cat gut string, I think is what it was. But it was a dried mushroom that was around his neck, and you could tell where he had been eating on this mushroom. And when they did the autopsy on him, they found that he had a strain of strep throat that is not common to the world today. And this mushroom that he had around his neck that he had been eating on, they went into the study on it and found that it was a very, very high antibiotic. So this guy was sick and knew it and was eating on this mushroom to heal his sickness. So my question is, when they find these strange strains of viruses and bacteria that's going to be melted away and then exposed into our atmosphere, is it possible that we could start seeing ancient diseases and ancient viruses come back that we've never seen in say thousands of years?
Absolutely, most definitely. There are scientific papers that I've read that talk about where some of our sicknesses and illnesses and plagues have come from, and there they come from space. They interact once they come. They could travel in on a meteor, and the meteorite hits Earth. People handle it. It burns up in the atmosphere. People breathe it. There's a lot of different scenarios, and I've never gotten very deep into that type of research, but I have read a little bit about it. But yes, that is possible. That is very possible. Wow. I mean, the same applies when they uncover mummies, Egyptian mummies, and there is a very high risk of certain toxins and disease when uncovering these sarcophagus in these pyramids. There was a case back in the 40s or 50s that the entire team of researchers became very, very ill. I believe a few of them died within days of exposing themselves to the inside of a burial tomb in a pyramid.
Oh, wow. Pretty fascinating stuff. All right. Explain to us there, Scott, what the Nemesis solar system is in this Planet X that you're speaking of.
Well, the Nemesis solar system, it was first discovered and researched by Chilean astronomer Carlos Ferrada. And Carlos Ferrada, I would have to categorize him pretty close to Einstein. He's a very, very intelligent man. He has since passed away. He did many, many studies into something that was perturbing Pluto, meaning something was moving the planet's orbit, playing around with the planet's orbit a little bit, just to put it into layman's terms. And then Dr. Robert Harrington, years later, came on board, and he started to investigate the same thing. And this system was so far out in space beyond Pluto, as they say. Then Robert Harrington went down to New Zealand, and he was a naval researcher with the United States Navy. And he went down to New Zealand, where he can have the most southerly point to look south into space, because that was where this brown dwarf star was supposedly coming up from.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just listened to part 4 of the Nibiru channel interview on the Front Porch Radio Show on iHeartRadio. Stay tuned for part 5. I'd like to thank all of our Nibiru watchers. You guys do a fantastic job. Would also like to thank you for your loyal subscribership. You can continue to email your photographs and your video to NibiruPlanetX2016@gmail.com. And don't forget to share our videos with your friends and family members on Facebook. And subscribe to the Nibiru channel for all of our current updates. And like I always say, keep an eye in the sky. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Nibiru channel. It is October 16th, 2016. Last night, I was a special guest on the Front Porch Radio Show on iHeartRadio. And ladies and gentlemen, they are trying to silence me. They do not want the truth to come out about Planet X. But I am delivering the truth. So stay tuned and listen to the broadcast. This will be a series of videos, so watch them all.
For causing us to slowly tilt as the planet moves through our portion of the solar system, which I've heard that the estimation will be approximately 57 million miles away. Now, that seems like a massive distance, and you would have to say, oh, Scott, you got to be crazy. That's so far away. But if you're dealing with a very highly electromagnetically charged planet, and Earth is the same way, then the bigger of the two is going to win the battle. And it's going to tilt us a little bit. Now, this is not something that's going to dump us on our heads. This is not something that's going to happen instantaneously and cause, massive amounts of damage. Like almost falling off of